Okay, so let's get right into this. This is actually very interesting. There was a video done called Six Conditions That Will Not Be Approved for Disability Benefits. This is by J. Dave Foster, who's a CEME, a medical expert for the SSA. And what he went through were basically conditions that he believed through his review of the Social Security system and interacting with essentially claimants that appear before him, that basically there are certain types of people who are just never going to be approved. And many of the details in that video are 100% absolutely correct. There's a few little details that are wrong, but I want to go through the details he gave and then give you additional details that would go and show you those types of individuals that even if they have conditions or particular types of conditions that they will never actually be found disabled for supplemental security income or social security disability insurance under the Social Security Administration's programs. Let's get into it. So really, the title of the video is Here Are 7 Conditions That Will Not Be Approved for Disability Benefits. What I'm actually going to be giving you are a total of 16. Number one, we're going to go through the ones that he gave out, and I'll kind of explain a little bit of detail behind it. Number one, basically, impairments that won't affect your ability to work. Impairments like high blood pressure, hypertension, things like that, where you take a pill, could be diabetes, where you take a pill and basically you are made better through that pill, right? You're then able to function, complete things, etc. Number two were impairments that can't be described properly. This one I think is a little bit wonky because we're putting the expectation that the claimant couldn't explain how their arthritis would go ahead and limit their ability to, function. And we put it on them, the claimant, the patient, to describe to the doctor how their arthritis would limit their ability to do things. So if the claimant were to be like, well, my arthritis makes it hard for me to move because I have pain. Okay, well, what type of pain do you have? Give me some descriptive terms. How often do you have the pain? Do you take pain medication? Does the pain go away? And what he was saying is, look, you can look at it like, how are you able to go upstairs? Are you able to get out of bed? Are you able to put shoes on? Do this arthritis? I don't think that this is an accurate one because ultimately, the medical condition should show severity to the doctor through other tests. Now, yes, if the claimant goes to a doctor and does not give strong bullet points as to their limitations, it's going to hurt the doctor's ability to give a diagnostic impression as to the severity of how bad that impairment really is. So, like, if you're like having 10 out of 10 pain, you're just crying and screaming, but you go into the doctor's office and you're like, yeah, it's pretty bad sometimes. It's pretty, I have a hard, if you do a poor job explaining it, it is going to limit that doctor's ability to go ahead and describe in their notes why it's so bad. But what I don't agree with the prior video is that ultimately the doctor has to do tests to go ahead and figure out really how severe it actually is, using more objective means instead of the subjective terminology that comes out of that patient's mouth. Now, with that said, the medical expert, the CEME, the consultative examination medical expert, which he is, normally doesn't have all of the medical record present, normally doesn't have the option to do tests right then and there that are more detailed, hook you up to a machine, etc. And so, yeah, they do x-rays, yeah, they'll do things here and there, but the bottom line is that from his perspective, you've really got to be able to go ahead and state how your impairments are actually limited. And that's crucial. Otherwise, you won't be able to be found disabled because the severity that which you describe will be less and only in the mild or moderate category. Number 3, a condition that gets better with treatment. He nailed it on this one, okay? Such as epileptic seizures, if it's well controlled with medical treatment or gets better over time. Let's say you've played screws, hardware in your body, and that bone has healed, right? And you're doing better as a result of that healing, then potentially you could go ahead and go back to work. Same thing with cancers. You'll have people who apply who have this cancer or that cancer, but it's in remission. You'll have people who've been in a traumatic car accident. And there's actually rules within the SSA where they have to wait 3 months after that before they can actually adjudicate the claim. Now, here's the thing. That was applicable back in the day, where it took 3 to 6 months to find somebody disabled. Now it takes like 17 to 19 months to go through the initial application process. So 3 to 6 months, yeah, they'd have to wait 3 months, if you were in a car accident, see how you've improved and then go from there. But nowadays it takes like 17 to 19 months. So nobody uses that rule because you're going to be sitting and waiting anyways. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. Number 4, an active addiction. So basically, he states in the video that if you have an active addiction, right? Sorry, I ate an Oreo right before this video. So I was actually really sick this weekend. It's the first time I'm feeling better, and it's almost 3 a.m. But bottom line is, I'm doing these videos now because I was coughing and sneezing the whole weekend. So I'm getting over that cold. Now, with that said, he states during the video that if you have an active addiction, that you cannot be found disabled. Doesn't matter what your conditions are, you're just not going to be found disabled. This is inaccurate. I have the last video that we're going to be doing, video 3, where I go into basically the program operation manual, the POMS, specifically with DI 90070.050, and we go through the actual adjudication process for basically how people who have addiction are found disabled and still get benefits. Okay, so we'll go through that in the third video. Next one, number 5, medical conditions that won't last at least 12 months. Again, medical conditions that won't last at least 12 months. So he nailed this one. Element 2 of the 5 elements that decide if you're disabled. If you have an impairment that's only going to last 9 months, only going to last 6 months, only going to last 3 months, only going to last a week, those are not considered severe under the disability rules and regulations. It's got to last at least 12 months for it to apply. Okay. So if you have a condition that's less than 12 months, I don't care what it is. I don't care how severe it is. If it's going away before a 12-month, start date and end date, you can't be found disabled with that for Social Security disability insurance benefits or supplemental security income benefits. Next one. Okay. 6, things that are normal. Okay, so this is the end of his list. Things that are normal. Sometimes dropping things, forgetting things, which is normal after age 50, aches and pains. Yes, things that are normal, unless the normal is so severe that the person can't function. Like if they're bedbound or they can't, basically do basic functions and they require somebody to live in the house or come to them every single day and take care of them. So, he's arguing, look, if you have normal things for your age, then basically, bottom line, you can't be found disabled for those conditions. Now, there are exceptions to that. I want to outline it. Sometimes people genetically have something that is normal for their genetics at their age, but that is severely debilitating. Certain types of cancers, sickle cell issues, certain types of developmental problems that affect their body, those sorts of things, cancers, will go ahead and become hyper severe, right? Out of nowhere, but it is normal for their family line for them to have these issues, right? Heart conditions, classic, right? Okay, now we're going past his list into additional ones that I want to give you going forward. Also, howdy, people. I know it's super late. Cameraman, Deb Carter, howdy, howdy. Very good to see you. Lisa, Anna, howdy, howdy. Life is too short. Awesome. Number 7, impairments that only limit you with doing your past work and not super simple jobs. Okay, impairments that only limit you with doing your past work and not super simple jobs. So there are some impairments, medical conditions that you'll have, which basically you won't be able to be the surgeon, you won't be able to be the accountant, you won't be able to be the lawyer, you won't be able to be the judge, right? But you could still do a simple job. You could still go ahead and work at a grocery store. You could go ahead and work at a factory. You could go ahead and work at a construction site. So those conditions that only limit your hyper intelligent or super smart abilities, but not the ability to do basic jobs, those impairments will not get you found disabled. Because the standard is you couldn't do any job in the national economy, not just the super smarty pants jobs. Okay. Number 8, impairments that are not easily detectable, such as where the tests are rare or the impairment takes multiple years to fully develop so that the doctors can actually diagnose it properly. So one of the big things that I don't talk about on this channel much, and I should do more of it, is going into those types of impairments that basically are on the leading edge of some actual field, category of impairments, right? Category of medicine. Could be cardiovascular, could be musculoskeletal, could be respiratory, whatever. And so let's say that you have a neurological problem with your brain. And this thing that's happening is like brand new, barely in the textbooks yet. Nobody really knows what it is. And they're trying to do tests for it, and the test doesn't really exist yet, to actually find it and, find that protein, figure out what's going on, yada, yada, yada. Those impairments are much, much more difficult to go ahead and get a diagnostic impression for. And what happens is the symptoms then go ahead and become the impairment, right? And the symptoms and signs. So instead of being like, this impairment is this disorder, this impairment is this disease, instead, we're like, oh, we don't really know what's causing this. We're not really sure. We're kind of like, maybe it could be this, maybe it could be that. And then all of a sudden, right, it takes a turn and we start calling it fibromyalgia, right? That's the classic. No, I mean, it looks like you got a pain all over the place. Okay, you probably have fibromyalgia, right? And so that's one of the things that happens, is that some of these really brand new, rare impairments, diseases, etc., we don't know what they are or how to test for them well. And so as a result, you're getting these other impairments that are just like the overall general category of something's going wrong. And those are less likely to be approved. Okay. Then the other option is some of these impairments take years to develop to the point where we can actually test them and know what's going on. So just to kind of, give you an understanding of that, and I think it's important to understand the complexity of this problem, because this pops up all the time when you practice this field. For the average person, it's not going to pop up all the time. But all right, so let's say, they put you down for fibromyalgia because something hasn't developed fast enough, or they're not sure how to test for it, and they don't have the testing techniques, the machinery, whatever. Okay, but then years later, so let's say 3 years, 6 years, 10 years later, there's some autoimmune system disease that's causing all these problems, these symptoms and signs in your body. And then at that point, we're like, oh, sure. I mean, they got this thing. This is super severe. We'll approve them, right? But while you have that fibromyalgia, we're like, I don't know if we trust this. I don't know if this is truly as severe as we think it is. So if you're one of these, like the impairment takes years to develop into what it's actually going to become in its limitations with your body, or it's something where they're just not sure how to test for it, don't expect to be approved the first couple of appeals. But ultimately, if it is severe enough, it should go through. Okay. Now we're on to number 9. Impairments that make you disabled, but you are so intelligent that you are still able to end up earning over SGA. Now I'm going to say something, and this one's going to anger some people, but I really want you to put your thinking cap on for this one, because at the end of it, it is a truth. It is an uncomfortable truth, but it is better if you just acknowledge it, know it, instead of not acknowledging it and kind of just looking the other way. Let's go through it real quick. Impairments that make you disabled, but you are so intelligent that you're still able to end up earning over SGA, which is substantial gainful activity, which is $1,550 per month. Not a high thing to jump over, right? $1,550, not hard to earn that in a month when you have these super intelligent, hyper upper end jobs, right? Some of these people earn more than, per hour than that. I mean, literally, I do know literally some people who earn more than 50 per hour. Okay, so $1,550 per hour. They earn more than that. There is a bias against hyper intelligent people with the disability system because there's almost always a job for them. One thing people are very uncomfortable with is knowing that they are and sometimes they think of this, sometimes they hide it in their brain, but it's knowing that on the farm, most people are the cow or they're the chicken compared to, other things, other animals that are very intelligent, kind of like your elephants, your dolphins, right? Things like that. Almost all humans are like that cow on the farm, just chilling out, eating some grass, hanging out. And over time, they live their life, unless the human corporation, known as America, deems them for some other processing purpose. You'll notice how I use the word processing there. But I'll say this, they don't put, and this is going to upset some people. I understand that, but it is a truth, and I want you to think about it. They don't put hyper intelligent people on the front line facing lead downhill. Now, this is uncomfortable to hear. I get it, because people get downrange because of their love for their country, or the person ordering parts in the military was needed because they ran out of people who do love their country. And of course, to be fair, there are exceptions like Delta Force, SEAL Team 6. But remember, the different schools, jobs, and military branches all give a mental assessment exam nowadays. Back in the day, they didn't do that. So if you ended up in this division or that branch of this, it was what it was back in the day for the most part. But nowadays, there's always a mental assessment detail as to where you should be placed. Back in the day, you had people who wanted to bear a cross and be a savior and be a crusader. But now it's different. And if you are special up above, right? you get redirected to certain specialty branches that do not place you in front of hot lead. I know it's uncomfortable to think about that idea, but trust me, it's the way it works. They always do it that way. It just is what it is. So the point is, if you are hyper intelligent, super smart, there's almost always a job for you, even if you are severely disabled, even if you are super limited, where you can do some function. And that's an amazing thing. Now, there are exceptions to that, right? Where the person's brain is actually the enemy of their productivity. And I get that. But some of these people, they live with that for years. Then all of a sudden they figure out a way around it and they try new medication. They're able to do stuff. Then boom, you know what I mean? They're earning significantly more than obviously the disability benefit process can give them. Number 10, those who are disabled have not paid into taxes long enough, right? So let's assume this is a severely or extremely disabled person and they haven't paid into the taxes, the FICA taxes long enough. And they decide to move out of the country. You can't get SSI benefits, supplemental security income benefits, as a disabled person if you move out of the country. You could be the most disabled person on earth. You could have every condition that exists, but you can't tap into SSI benefits when you live outside of the country. Any condition, all conditions, it doesn't matter. You just can't get those benefits. 11, medical conditions that have long-term improvement and short-term extreme severity. So imagine a wave, right? Imagine a wave, except you have long-term improving. You're doing great. And then you have a really boom, quick and short severity. And then you have this long-term improvement, and then boom, you have this really quick, short severity period or severe period. What that means is that you are basically okay for, let's say, 5 years. And then boom, for 6 months, you're miserable. You're terrible. Your medical condition just makes you absolutely horrifically, unable to do any functions at all. In that instance, you can't be found disabled because they're going to review that as a giant period of you being okay, and then a very short period of you not being okay, you being that severe, extremely impaired individual. So that's another group that violates basically the idea the impairment must last at least 12 months. But there are people out there where they will be fine for 5 to 10 years, and then boom, for 6 months, they're miserable. And then fine for 5 to 10 years, and then boom, for 6 months, they're miserable. Doesn't matter what the condition is, but based on that timeline factor, you cannot get disability benefits. 12, medical conditions that allow you to function with environments that Social Security administrative judges will compare to vocational environments, okay? So let me put it to you another way, okay? You got environment 1, and there's a parallel between it and environment 2. Environment 2 is like the job you were working or the jobs you could work. What is environment 1? So if you can do triathlons, play sports, or run a successful company, then you are not disabled, even if you have special conditions. Now, the comment section ninja will say, well, what if they want to compete in the Special Olympics? And the clear, obvious answer would be that the Special Olympics use a standard for disabled people, whereas the regular Olympics that refer to the ultimate form of competition. It's the highest competitive individual without disabilities. Now, I do want to point out one other particular thing. There are people who, basically were found disabled. They started the company. The company doesn't earn much, and they keep rolling. And with them, more earnings than they actually make. And as a result of that, they lose their benefits because they say, okay, the SSA says, hey, they're earning over SGA, even if they're not earning that extra money. So for those people who are in the comment section like, hey, well, I have a special company, and my special company, I don't earn enough to be over SGA. Trust me, the SSA will come knocking. You will go through a CDR, and usually most of those individuals do lose their benefits. It's unfortunate. It is part of the process. But look, if you open a company and you don't do anything with it, then you should be safe because you're not practicing the functions of a person who owns a company. Hiring and firing, doing payroll, setting up all of your template forms, interacting with clientele, sales, services, whatever. You're not doing all those functions. 13, famous YouTubers or other social media giants with severe or extreme medical conditions. So here's the thing. Some disabled VA people get away with this, but Social Security disability or SSI recipients who become famous on social media, no matter how super disabled they actually are, can't get approved for disability benefits because their monthly income is way, way, way too high. It's significantly over $1,550. So one of the things that I've now seen happening, and one of them reached out to me, and he said, "Hey, look, I'm super disabled. I have this. This is obviously, a situation. It's listing level criteria, and I should be able to go ahead and retain my benefits, yada yada yada." But the problem is, one of the earliest elements of this situation is, are they earning over SGA? Not are they a severely disabled individual, but are they earning over SGA? And the problem inherent with that is that if you're earning over that amount, then all of a sudden you're no longer considered disabled for traditional income, not investment income, but traditional income. Okay. I know the comment section warrior will say, but it's not like, the money they get from YouTube or whatever is not as high as what Medicare could potentially give them. And you would be right. There is a sour spot for people who are basically quasi-famous through YouTube or other social media platforms. But the sweet spot is that many of them end up earning $30K a month and end up basically having like 500,000 subscribers. So yeah, maybe their medication is expensive, maybe their medical treatment is expensive, but they can just buy private health insurance for $3,000 a month, which would outdo any advantage Medicare could ever give you. So that the bottom line is, you have to understand these individuals, they're earning a significant amount. So the SSA says, well, they're working a job, they're famous, and there you go. Next one, 14. Okay, so for 14, any and all severely or extremely disabled children of wealthy parents, they can't go on SSI benefits because they deem the parent's income and expect the parent to pay for their medical bills. Now, it's a crappy rule, and I'm going to tell you why it's a crappy rule. Because most parents earn more than 35K-ish, right? That's kind of like a general roundabout amount, $35,000 a year, right? And because a lot of people think that, most parents, they need to earn at least $1 million a year for the kids not to go on SSI. No, just one parent earning around $35,000 a year can be enough to go ahead and offset the whole situation so that the child can't get supplemental security income benefits. It needs to be changed to be higher. But I don't think Congress even, they're not even looking at it. They're not even caring about it. It's not in most of the bills that come out from the traditional people who launch into Congress Social Security bills to improve SSI, SSDI benefits. So just keep that in mind. Basically, if you are a child with severe impairments and you don't have a work history and you're under a certain age, they're going to deem the parent's income. They deem the parent's income. They have over a certain amount. You cannot get disability benefits no matter what condition you have, because you, bottom line, have parents that have the ability to pay for your insurance. Okay. 15, medical conditions that the adjudicators tend to bias against: anxiety, fibromyalgia, arthritis. These all tend to get denied without really incredibly strong proof, right? Usually they're looking for multiple tests, stuff like that. Ultimately, you can get these types of impairments through, but they are far less likely to be approved than, for example, blindness, IQs below 60s, right? 3 failed surgeries of the back, stuff like that. So, there is a bias that exists, and there are certain types of impairments that are less likely to be approved, and you just need more medical treatment. And then, of course, you get somebody who has anxiety, and they're like, well, I hate going to the doctor, and then boop, boop, boop. They end up in a spot where they just can't get through because they don't have proper medical treatment, because if they were really that bad, they would end up at a medical facility. There's also another thing that goes in line with this. Claimants who are patients seeking basically disability benefits are significantly less likely to win disability benefits if they live in what's called the bubble. These are bubble claims. They live in a bubble. The parents are paying for them. Their grandparents are paying for them. Their cousins, brothers, sisters, whatever, are paying for them to be able to live. They have a boyfriend. They have a girlfriend. They're paying for them to be able to live, where they don't have to go into society. They don't have to interact with society. They don't have to get a job. So they're never stressed. They're never put in a stressful life situation. And when that happens, the medical impairments never get stressed to the point where they're truly severe. They're always in the mild to moderate category because nobody's putting anything on their back, right? So in that case, you often will find like somebody with anxiety doesn't really have severe anxiety when they can just stay in their room all day and not do anything. But when that person is forced to find a job or become homeless, and then they become homeless, obviously the anxiety gets really bad really fast, because now they're living in the woods with a tent, as opposed to the kid who basically sits in a room all day with high-speed internet and plays video games. So now here's 16, the bonus round. People who are disabled but come from extreme wealth, okay, I have claimants who have called me who are either celebrities or basically are, the kids of celebrities, whatever, but they're older, right? People who are disabled but come from extreme wealth. Okay, it doesn't matter what you have, you're going to have income coming in. And it's not even investment income. It's like other income that was set up for you by other family members that wanted more for you than just disability benefits. You see, disability benefits are really great, but they aren't anything compared to a trust fund that includes businesses that report earnings to you in the millions. You can't be found disabled if you're in that situation. Doesn't matter what your medical conditions are, doesn't matter how extreme they are, you're not going to be able to get disability benefits because the way these individuals set it up, right? These super famous families or not so famous families, Rockefellers or whatever, the way they set it up is so that these corporations are basically set to pay income to these individuals, even if they don't really touch them, even if they don't do anything with them. And those individuals are really never able to go on to Social Security disability benefits because there's just too much money coming in their direction that isn't just investment income. Now, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, please remember to subscribe. Also, one of my favorite things, go to Google and type in disability resolution. Again, disability resolution law firm or disability resolution Florida on Google, and throw some stars up there. I always love the reviews, and they really, really cheer me up in the morning because obviously I get very tired. Now, with that said, we are going to be going through basically 2 additional videos. The next video, just so you know, is specifically going to be about these are okay. There's secret questions that I always ask claimants when I have to figure out if they're truly disabled, if they're severely disabled. And when people fail these questions, I know that they're probably not severely impaired. Because think about it, when I talk to people for the first time, they always ask me, well, how's my claim sound? How does my claim sound? Right? They give me the little quick story. I got this, I got this, I got da. Then I ask my secret questions. I'm going to give you my secret questions in the next video. That way you can hear what's going through my brain as to whether or not this person is likely a good claimant for disability benefits or just a fibber faker. Okay. So with that said, also remember on Tuesday and Thursday night, I go live and I answer questions from anybody that calls in. Please remember, if you're looking for representation, call the law firm. But if you just have a quick question, go ahead and call in during the lives. Do not call in during the 9 to 5 because my back office does not like that because they don't have time. They have to work the claims as they are. But if you're seeking representation, totally fine. But just a quick question, call during the lives. If you have a question or a bunch of questions that take more than 5 to 7 minutes for me to answer, there's another option in the bio link below where you can hire me for an hour. And then basically we'll put you on my hearing calendar as your own special private hour. All right, I'll catch you a little bit later, and I will see you in the next video in about 5 minutes. See you soon, and I'll catch you soon. All right, thanks so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.